Welcome to part 2 of how to install your Flooret vinyl floors. Let me get started, but before I do, I need you to make sure that you have watched the very first part because this is part 2 of 3. Part 1, we covered what tools and preparation you need to do before you start installing. Let me clean up all of this. Those were all the boxes that we've used this far in this whole Flooret installation process. So our house is divided exactly in half. There's a left side and then there's a right side. On the left side, we have our living room, dining area, and kitchen. And then on the right side, we have our bedrooms and our restroom. In part 1, you might have noticed that I have already completed the living room and the dining area. Those floors are already installed. Now, the tricky part came with starting on the right side. So, as part of this second video, I will teach you how to install your Flooret floors. Don't mind the mess, but this is the living room and dining area I was talking about, and here is my lovely helper. We just end up getting frustrated with each other, right?
So it's best if I just stay in the corner and...
No, we make a good team. You can enter the other side of the house through this little hallway. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, restroom. So what you just saw, that's where it started to get tricky for me. See, this living room and dining area, it's all rectangular. You don't really have to cut into many corners. It's just as easy as laying down the floor. Let's get started with that. So for starters, you want to figure out what kind of pattern you want to lay out. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You see, each plank is 40 inches long. 48 inches long. That's gonna determine where we start and what kind of end pieces we're gonna have. Because you don't want to have an inch slit at the very end of your flooring row. Did that make sense? We made life easy on us. We started with a just a full 48 inch plank. Now that meant that we were gonna finish with a plank that is about 1.5 feet. Now obviously you don't just want to start laying down the planks right next to each other. You want to stagger them a little bit. So we decided to do that based on the length of the room. This is the room, the living room / dining area. So this is the system that we set up for ourselves, the pattern that we like. Full plank, 2/3 of a plank, 1/3 of a plank. And with that, you get a nice little staggering all the way through. And that's the pattern we want to maintain as we move into this area and the bedrooms. So another tip. As you're laying down the planks, notice the actual wood pattern on each of these planks. You will start to notice that some of them repeat. It seems like Flooret has this like machine that's just stamping down wood patterns. And you don't want to put the same ones next to each other or around each other. So what we did, or basically what Michelle did, she would lay down a box, just all of them open, see the different planks, and then she would just give me a different pattern of the wood grain as I was laying them down. That system worked for us. If you're just doing it on your own, just lay these on the ground ahead of time and just put different ones together. Now, let's move on to section 2 of this, how to install your Flooret floors. So now the fun part, how to actually install these things. Remember this, pro flooring installation. Well, I'm not much of a pro, but you can still do it yourself using the tools in this kit. Mallet, hold on, there's like a speaker that's being connected. And your other handy tool, this tapping block. If you recall from my very first video where I talk about all these tools and the preparation that you must make for your installation, this has two sides. Side one, see how it's just one little step? Well, that's for one specific area of the plank. Side two, there's like two little steps here. That's for a different side of the plank. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When you click your two planks together, you will notice that there is a longer gray side on one side and a shorter gray side. You see that? So, when you are installing, short side to long side. Like that. You go in at an angle, and then you bring it down. But now to really secure it, you will use your block and you will take note. On the opposite side, you have a long side. So you grab your tapping block. Now the long side, you use a two little step one. So that way it locks in. Boom. Just like that. And then you give it a couple of, tap it to the point where the seam just blends in. And there you have it. You've now locked them in place. Now sometimes you'll get into areas that are really hard to put in the tapping block. Say these edges that are along the wall. In those instances, you will use this. Why? Well, because you can easily reach into those little corners or the parts, the planks that are up against the wall. Place it there, and then you use the other side to. Now, it's pretty straightforward when you're talking about a room that is square like this. Square? Rectangle. You might ask yourself, what do I do when I'm coming into the door frame areas and cutting corners? Well, my friend, that's where your patience will be tested. So, what you want to do in those areas is actually grab this tool. That's your oscillating multi-tool, and what you'll do is you'll notch in the area right underneath your door frame. So that way your planks will be tucked away and you won't be able to see the edge. Let me show you. Example number one. See this area here? That's what I cut away with. Using the oscillating tool, I took away some of the wood underneath there, so that way the plank can be tucked away right there. And don't worry about this area. We have spacers because we're going to cover this whole area with quarter round. That's a project for another day. First, we must complete these floors.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.